wanted to introduce my most recent book. This is the 9th book I've written, and this is very different. It's not a technical book. It's called One Light, Many Worlds. So this book is part of the Jedi Ascension Mastery School. It is the very first initiation for those students that come into the school. I help you write it. I help you publish it, okay? So what we do is we go from this lifetime and we travel back in time all the way to source. So we trace our soul's essence through time, and we begin to see the soul thread through all of those lifetimes. Even though we have a different personality, a different expression, a different way of living within the world, we can see this thread of the soul and the individuation from source in its purest sense. And that's what's really interesting about these. And we go through time and heal those time fields and reclaim those gifts and powers from those lifetimes. So in this book, I start out at Source God and the presence of that feeling when you go into that and birth into primal sound, and then the divine architects, and then from the experience of watching the universe invert, going into the Lyran past life, Andromedan past life, Tiamat, into Lemuria, the genesis of Lemuria, Atlantis, Egypt, and then into some more modern lifetimes that are more detailed, because that is where most of my soul wounding was. I actually already did this video and had a hard time reading some of these stories because of the somatic memories that were coming up when I was reading. So I'm going to try it again here. I'm going to read 2 short stories out of this so you get an idea of the cadence and the rhythm of the book and what to expect, okay? It's a really enlightening journey and helps you to go back through time to understand the birth from source, and it will be very activating and awakening for many people because there's a lot of common themes in here with regarding spirituality, healing. So it's a really interesting book, and there's a lot of soul threads that a lot of people may resonate with. And the process of doing this is one of the most profound processes I've ever gone through. It's from an understanding of the self as the one source, okay? And knowing that I've stripped away all of the layers of distortion and I can come from that space of truth and light. Everyone, if they so choose, can reach those states of that divinity and that alignment if they just clear and harmonize. And then it's coming from that space, reclaiming those gifts, reclaiming your sovereignty and your divine birthright to live as a free being, spiritual being on the planet, and accessing your divine potential. Okay, so I'm going to go into a few of these stories so you guys can see the diversity of the information that's in here. So we will start with the unknowable. In the beginning, before beginnings had meaning, there was a vastness, an expanse of pure nothingness interwoven with the threads of everything. No words could capture it, for language had not yet been born. No shapes to find it, for form was still a dream unborn. There was only a feeling, a pulse that hummed beyond sound, beyond light, beyond the grasp of any mind. In this boundless void, visions danced, diamond light sharp and radiant, each facet a prism refracting the brilliance of 1,000 stars, 1,000 universes, 1,000 galaxies. This was before photons painted the cosmos, before the hum of existence found its voice. It was potentiality itself, a ceaseless stream of consciousness that neither began nor ended, a paradox of being and non-being. To the human mind, it was unfathomable, a mystery too vast to hold, too deep to name. Yet within this enigma, a spark flickered. A tiny diamond flame, no larger than a whisper, burned quietly in the heart space of all beings. It was the same flame that birthed the cosmos, identical in its essence, unchanging in size, in density, and its eternal presence. It was everywhere, always, a fragment of source woven into the fabric of all that would ever be. Within this flame, realities unfolded like fractals, infinite and intricate, time-bent and twisted. Timelines converged and diverged. Perception shifted like shadows on water. You could step into it, through it, beyond it, into worlds within worlds, dimensions unbound by density or form. It was the quantum made manifest, magical and magnified beyond comprehension. A symphony of existence played on strings too fine to see. It was the heartbeat of all things, science in its precision, art in its wonder, the mind's eye gazing through the heart. All of this, every reality, every possibility existed in the single, timeless moment. It was light refracting light, an endless cascade of brilliance with no origin or end. It did not dwell here or there. It did not dwell here or there, in this place or that. It simply was a transparent orb of non-existence, shimmering through the corridors of time. To call it magical was too small a word. To define it was to chase a shadow. It was potentiality in its purest form, a wellspring of creation that defied understanding. And though the mind could never grasp it, the heart knew it well, for within that tiny flickering flame, God, the unfathomable, lived, not as a distant deity, but as a quiet eternal fire that burned in all things, forever beyond reach, yet threaded through everything. Echoes of the Wounded Warriors. In the twilight of the 14th century, where the ashes of the Templar pyres still whispered on the winds of Normandy, and the battle-scarred fields of Brittany bore the weight of 100 years of strife, two lives, Geoffrey de Charnay and Bertrand de Guzlin, aligned across decades, their souls threaded by a flame of trauma and truth. Though separated by time, their paths converged in a silent resonance, a shared wound that burned through betrayal and blazed towards redemption. Geoffrey, the Templar preceptor of Normandy, stood as a pillar of light in a darkening world. His brilliance as a financier, weaving wealth from the land's bounty, his voice a steadfast hymn to the order's sacred truth. Yet in 1307, that light drew the shadow of King Philip IV's greed. False accusations of heresy and idolatry cloaked his persecution, a crown's blade aimed at the heart of a man who dared speak against corruption. Dragged from his preceptory, his white mantle torn, he faced the rack and the flame, his spirit unbroken even as he burned in 1314. His trauma was a wound unjustly inflicted, a financier's success twisted into a crime, his truth a torch that lit the sky as he cursed his betrayers from the pyres, a spark that lingered, seeking a vessel to carry its fire. Half a century later, that spark found Bertrand, a captain born to Brittany's rugged soil, his heart already heavy with the echoes of a world that Geoffrey's fall had scarred. The church, once a Templar's shield, now blessed wars that devoured his villages. The state, enriched by knights like Geoffrey, abandoned his men to hunger and death. Betrayed was his inheritance, a rage that roared through his veins, fueled by the same powers that had crushed the Templars. He channeled it into war. His guerrilla raids, a storm against the English, each victory a secret strike against the church's hollow sermons and the crown's empty promises. Yet that rage born from their shared wound grew thorns, each fallen soldier a regret that pierced him, each burned hamlet a mirror to the pyres of old. The financier's truth had been silenced by flame, Bertrand's action screamed it through blood, only to leave him hollow, yearning for balm to heal what war had wrought. Their lives aligned in a crucible of injustice, Geoffrey's persecution a prelude to Bertrand's fury, the Templar's voice echoing in the captain's blade, where Geoffrey spoke his truth to stone walls and died for it. Bertrand lived it through battle, his anger a bridge across time, a howl against the same forces that had branded the Templars heretics. The financier's success, plundered by a greedy king, found its shadow in Bertrand's victories, won not for gold but for the souls of his men, only to be squandered by a faithless state. And as Geoffrey's spirit soared from the pyre, a radiant cross of light, it whispered to Bertrand in dreams, a call to turn rage into redemption, to seek what the Templars could not in life. Bertrand answered, his final years of pilgrimage from war's chaos to peace's silence, where Geoffrey's trauma ended in martyrdom. Bertrand's regret drove him to atone, his heart shattered by loss, enshrined in Dinan's basilica in 1380, a plea to rest with the children he'd failed. The crimson flame that had burned in Geoffrey's defiance flared anew in Bertrand's sacrifice, a legacy not of wealth or conquest, but of a truth reclaimed. Pilgrims saw it, a gold shimmer above the Templar's ashes, a flicker over the captain's tomb. Two lives bound by betrayal's fire, their spirits a testament that even the deepest wounds could forge a light eternal. Thus, Geoffrey and Bertrand became echoes of one flame, one persecuted for crimes undone, the other raging against a world that mirrored the sin, both seeking through truth and redemption a peace that time could not extinguish. And after that life, the soul went into a lifetime of redemption, dedication, and worship as a nun, part of the Poor Clares. And after the Poor Clares, the soul incarnated as the Diamond Soul and sat in the Himalayas again in a state of worshiping to atone for those lifetimes and to find the soul, because at that time the soul had felt lost. And so we see this thread through all of these lifetimes, from the birth, the individuation, and many of these are collective souls and oversoul experiences that the soul just weaved through time. So again, it is One Light, Many Worlds. If you're interested in the Jedi School, I'm taking applications right now, so you can apply there. I will help you write this book. That's the first initiation. The school is not quite open yet. I still have to finish a few things. But as soon as this section is done with the past life papers and the Akashic Records work, I will open it and allow the first people in to work with me and begin this process. Okay, it's a profound process. It's taken me, after doing all of my healing evolution, it took me 8 months to actually be able to go through this and be able to do it, integrate and heal all these soul parts. So it's a really profound healing experience as well for people, and I'm putting my stuff out there so people can understand how it works and connect to that soul thread and begin the awakening process within yourselves, because everybody can do this. Okay, I'm not doing this as at an ego space. I'm doing this from the soul space, from the source, from the one, the God presence, to help other people anchor into that as well, to find that, to harmonize with that, and to align with that. So that is it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Again, I have all my other social medias up. It's all under Jedi Ascended, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and X. I haven't done anything with the accounts, and I appreciate your support on this new path. Sending you so much love. Bye-bye.